What's up, YouTube? It's Adam Grover. I made like 3 or 4 videos about this, and I had to delete them because it's not how I'm not turning out the way I want them to. I want to talk about a subject that has been bothering me for a little while now. Um, there's been some comments made. As you guys know, we like to show proof of our work through our car and ET mile an hour. You know, because you can tell a lot by a time slip. You can tell what picks up power, and you can tell what picks up efficiency, or both. Whether it's a suspension setup or a part taking weight off, or whether it's putting weight in a certain spot, even, or the list goes on. But you can tell by the slip what works, what doesn't work, how well does it work, if it does or doesn't. You can see it. Slip tells everything. A slip will never lie. Those numbers are, unless you do got something going on with the track you're at, that slip isn't going to lie to you. Especially if you back it up, and you back it up, and you back it up. I can tell you what can lie, though, and that is a dyno. Now, I might get a lot of heat for this, but one of the statements, I want to take two statements and kind of put them together because two different guys said this. Very well respected. A lot of viewers on YouTube, a lot of subscribers. I mean, one guy, he writes books, for crying out loud. Smart guy, very smart, very intelligent. And I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic. I mean it. He's a very intelligent guy. The other guy, even, he's intelligent. He plays with dynos and he plays with different parts, and smart guy. But they both said along the lines of this statement here. The time slip, or if you have a fast car with your work on it, it's irrelevant, basically. That the dyno is what matters. The dyno matters. Not how fast the car is, the dyno. That being said, I think I'm going to sell everything I own and buy a dyno and start racing my dyno. I don't know what track you go to. I don't know if you keep it in the garage. I don't know how this works. But you hook the engine up to the dyno, I guess, and I guess you call whoever out with a dyno and you race them. You line them up. I would think a dyno is heavier than a car, but if that isn't the most asinine statement I've ever heard in my entire life, I don't know what is. I think Forrest Gump got more sense than that, to be honest with you. And like I said, these are intelligent people. Intelligent people. And I don't know where they went when they thought of this statement. Maybe it's because they don't have a car to back up their work. One gentleman, he does have a car. I should say a vehicle. It's not really a car. But he does have a vehicle. This vehicle has a pretty stout engine in it. I mean, it's stroker, good heads, good fuel, compression. I mean, it's definitely you're putting some effort into this thing. You could tell. Kudos to this man for it. I'm gonna be blunt honest. If you had to go off of that particular vehicle, I don't watch him. After finding out what he's got, and it's a shame because he probably does have some informational videos out there because he plays with a lot of stuff. The other gentleman, if I have to hear about an 11-second car one more time, and that's great. It's great that you had an accomplishment, and maybe that's one reason why I don't want to post so much stuff, comparing my cars. But when you're talking about how you can pick certain parts or design a certain part, or how you're going to make X horsepower with X combination, and you don't have the car to back it up, honestly, I have no reason to even want to tune in. And that's coming from a nobody. I don't even have 400 subscribers. But it kind of bothers me because both of these statements were kind of made after, I guess, I don't know if it was a comment made or a video made of what we got going on over here. Sometimes you read things and misinterpret them, so maybe it was misinterpreted the way it was read. But if I see somebody work on something and the car doesn't go faster, then that tells me not to go to that person. I might even give them a chance after that to redeem themselves. Let them try it, do their thing. But after so long, it kind of tells you, like, nah, this ain't for you. Whatever. Like I said on here, I might be nobody. I am a nobody, even out here in the real world. But I've had cars come to me that have been at full blown out shops, and I have gone faster with them, with changes I made. And I'm not talking about even putting parts in the cars, I'm talking about just tuning. And I'm not even one of the best tuners in the world, but I mess with a couple things here and there. I played with transitions on the carburetor and things like that, and I got this car to go faster than the 2 or 3 shops that messed with it before me. And I've done that a couple times. So and I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to put out there that I'm better or I'm the best guy around. Bring your stuff to me. That's not what I'm saying. If my point here is if you bring a car somewhere and the car slows down, then it's the wrong place. Or if they don't have something that runs well, it's the wrong place. That's a red flag right off the bat. If they have a car where it's like, okay, it's got all that dyno ain't helping you. Take it back to the drawing board. With how smart these guys are, I don't understand how they don't get the concept of what a dyno is. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Here's what a dyno is used for me. And this is after playing with cars on the dyno and messing with things. And you've heard me preach that I've seen cars lose power on the dyno. I've also seen cars where they have picked up power and gone faster. So I've seen it both ways. One instance was a buddy of mine was an LS car. We actually put it on the dyno because there was a turbo LS vehicle on the dyno and it made bummy power. I said, go get that thing. And we threw his on the dyno, and we ended up making more than a turbo LS with a naturally aspirated LS. Now, sometimes I do stuff like this for a couple reasons. It's not just to show, you know, it's not to punch somebody in the gut. It's to show them that they have an issue if they pay attention. I try to do it to actually help them. That way, when they pay attention and they say, huh, that made more power than my turbo setup and that's NA, I need to go back and fix some things. We put this car on, it made less than a turbo truck at first. We only made like 290 wheel or something. Actually, I think it made 280 or 290. Dropped down to 260. And then I got it upwards of 315, I think, or something. If I remember right. And the car was a completely different car. So that time the dyno, it showed. It was like, okay. But we had a problem with this car. Somebody had put a Ford style injector in it, 30 pounds, and LS's come with 36 from what I know, factory. So they put a smaller injector in this thing. The fuel table was maxed out. I couldn't get it any richer. And it still was lean with the fuel table maxed out. Timing I had locked out. I like locked out timing. It didn't even have a map for timing. It was just locked out. But that's how I had it. And it worked. Car ran decent. We all know what it ran, but I mean, we raced cars with it and made a little bit of money with the car. So it ran alright. Now, I also seen the same dyno, the same day, another friend of mine put his car on the dyno. We played with it, made more power. Not much, probably about 10 wheel, which is decent. To pull out of a tune where the car's already pretty much dialed in, that's good. Now, we really didn't touch the carburetor too much, pulled the air filter off of it, and played with timing. That's pretty much it. But playing with that stuff, 10 wheel horsepower, it's nothing to sneeze at. Picked up a little bit of torque, if I remember correctly, as well, to the tire. And it went slower at the track. He went slower with it. Now, me and him discussed what the issue could have been. But it goes to show you that a dyno can be inconsistent, even if it's giving you the information you want to see. Because everybody wants to see the number. Everybody wants to make more power. They want to see that number jump up. Everybody. It's just natural. It's just natural to look at the number and say, we made some power. This thing's going to make steam. And then you go out there and whether it does or doesn't, it's upsetting when it doesn't. So that's how consistent your dyno is. But now when you, like I said, my buddy went to the track and the car went slower. ET. Mile an hour, whatever the case may have been. I can't remember now if it lost mile an hour or two or what, but when I make a change, I like making it at the track. So I can see what it does. Same day. You know, granted, you can't control the temperature and time. But it does give you a good basis to go off of, especially if you pick up a full tenth. You know, the temperature would have to drop dramatically to pick up a full tenth or something like that. You know, like it'd have to be a lot. But you can usually tell when it's temperature related or something you did. Especially if you go back out there and back it up another day when the temp's back up you know, all that stuff. Um, hold on one second. Go ahead. Kitty cat wanted to go over to the other side of the house. I'm sitting in our spare bedroom. That way I don't wake everybody up. It's too cold out there in the garage right now. I don't feel like being out there. I guess I could have paused it. But, anyway. Getting back to what I was saying. You can usually tell where you're at with that type of stuff. Weather changing and stuff. But the time slip's not going to lie to you. Majority of the time. Now, there are instances where you might roll a beam. I saw where that just happened to a car. The beam stayed locked after he was rolled a foot or two out. And then whatever, it registered. Sometimes, stuff isn't perfect. Dynos aren't perfect. Beams aren't perfect at the track. But the track is a more consistent way of seeing if something helps and something don't, in my eyes. A dyno, this is what I want to use a dyno for. I want to go there. I want to tune my car in. I want to get the air fuel where I want it. Alright, so like for instance, when I take this Mustang out, let's just say it was on motor. So I bring the car out on motor, and I'm going to start probably around a 12:8 air-fuel ratio. Now on the dyno, I'm going to try to go to a 13.1. I'll mess with it and just see what my power output is. And if I gain power going that lean, I'll probably leave it. Now I'm going to go to the track after that tune-up's done. Plugs are clean. My air fuel's on where I want it. I got the car where I want to start. That's a starting base. We just spent hours. Let's say I spent a whole day tuning this car. That's my base tune for the track. That's where I'm starting. Because when you get to the track, you get to do it all over again. Because now I have my tune where I made the most power on the dyno. But now I have to add or pull timing depending where I'm at. If I have a lot of timing in it, I'm going to start pulling it. So if I say I'm at 40 degrees of timing, I make a pass, I get a base number. The best way to do it if you have all the time in the world is to back that number up if you're a consistent driver with a stick, or whether it even be automatic. I'm going to try to back that number up. It's the best way to do it. After your first pass, you're going to go over everything again. Make sure that your tune's still on, that nothing changed with the load difference from the dyno compared to the track. And then you're going to make that other pass without making a single change to the car, and you're going to try to back the number up. Now, as long as those numbers back up relatively within a couple hundredths of each other, now you can start making changes. You want to look at your mile an hour, see where your mile an hours are at. And then I'm going to pull timing from that point. 2 degrees. If it picks up, another 2. It picks up, another 2. We're going to keep going down until it falls back off. It's a lot of passes to make the tune something in. Now you're going to go up 1 degree back the other way. Now, if I have something that says 32 degrees of timing, I'm going to go up. Just because that's how I am. I like timing. Timing to me is torque. Some people might disagree with that, but I like timing. So I'm going to go up. That is what the dyno and the track are for. The dyno is to give you the number. Obviously, everybody wants the number. I'd be lying to say that you don't really. Personally, I should say majority of the guys want the number. You want to see what your setup can do. I'll put it that way. Like, personally, I'm not out to make the most horsepower out of everybody. I'm out to make what I can make with my stuff. Whether it be 500 wheel, 600 wheel, that, I'll gauge it maybe off of another car and say, I'd like to make the same power as a heads cam intake stroker motor when I have a E7 headed 302. Who wouldn't? It gives you a basis where it's like, okay, I made the same power. Now let's see if I can put it down on the track and if the car will do what I want it to do or expect it to do. That's what the dyno's for. You're going to tune it. You're going to get the tune. That's the main thing, is getting the tune dialed in. The number is the number. You can't really, once you hit the max number, you really not much you can do about that. That is what it is. It's cut and dry. After you reach your max number with the tune on point, that's it. You go to the track and you try to dial it in to get the best time. Because that's what we're here for, is to get the lowest ET possible. Now, if you want to do a fun experiment, you can do what I just said and then go back on the dyno and see how much power you gained or lost. And it could go one or two ways. But that shows you all the stuff I just listed. Excuse me. It shows you how inconsistent a dyno is compared to ET. Compared to racing on a track. To me, the track number is the most important number. I don't care what anybody says. That whole showing your work thing, you need a dyno to show your work, that's baloney. Let me ask you a question. If you have a dyno, I don't know what different dynos there are, but let's just say you have Thingamabobber 4000 and I get a Thingamajigger 2000. Are they going to be the same? Am I going to load the dyno the same way you load it? I've had my car on a couple different dynos, different cars. When I was young, I wanted to see power. And honestly, when my car was on the dyno, it didn't even want to spin the rollers. The Black Mustang, it was just dead. That car's never like that on a street. This is a chassis dyno. But that car on the street is not like that. It don't take that long to pull up in third gear. I think I made not even, almost 200 horse. If I made 200. So they said, well, we got the dyno loaded. I said, I want to make a pool unloaded, if you don't mind. Sure, but that's not an accurate number. I said, that's fine. I just want to see. And the car ended up making like 240 wheel. And honestly, that's the number I go off of. Because to me, hearing the tone of the car, how long it still was overloaded. It took more to turn that roller than what it takes to go out on that street and bring it up to 3,000 and then whack it. My car on the street would pull the RPM faster on the street than it does on that dyno. And that's a chassis dyno. So that tells me right there that that dyno is inaccurate. It's not the same. It's not really what the car makes. It's giving you a general rule of thumb. Now, was there a problem with that dyno? Was it still loaded somehow? It's possible. It's possible it was dragging. I know that same dyno actually had a problem where they had a car that made, I think, 800 horsepower, and it was only making 450 because it was dragging. And this is years later. This is a 10-year gap. The Green Mustang, same deal. We tried it loaded, tried it unloaded. Unloaded it's just like being on the street. And I tell people that, and they say I'm crazy. They say, nah, it's different. Once you get the roller spinning, it keeps spinning. Like, it's easy to spin once you get it spinning. Try walking on one of them things. Because I'll tell you what, you can barely spin it. It takes a lot of effort to walk on one of them. A lot. To kick that roller and turn it, it takes a lot. But I know if I go to walk in the other room, it's easy. I could get up and walk wherever I want to walk without that much strain. Not that much effort. So that right there tells me it's harder to spin that roller than it is to go out on the street and turn the car. So that tells me right there that the horsepower rating is inaccurate. It's going to make more power than what that chassis dyno says. Now, engine dyno is different. That's why you, even with a loaded engine dyno, that's why you lose power going to a chassis dyno. Because your load is completely different. The guy that said the statement I'm talking about in this video, he also made a statement saying, I don't care what anybody says, that dyno load is harder than the racing the car. He's talking engine dyno. That's not true. That I disagree with. A chassis dyno, I 110% agree with that statement. An engine dyno, I do not. Because an engine dyno is reading your flywheel. It's right off the flywheel. You ever some of you guys might have done it. You take an engine, you start it on the floor, and it's snappy. Bah, 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 it'll rev right up. Now you put it to a car with the trans and all on it, hooked to it. Even if it's in neutral, it's not that snappy. It changes the whole sound of that. The snappiness goes away because you're trying to turn whatever through the drivetrain. Even though your stuff might be in neutral, park, whatever, you're still spinning. A stick car will actually spin the tires if you have it on jack stands in neutral. So it's still spinning through the gearbox and everything. So it's still robbing power. It's just not as much as automatic. So that goes to tell you something, though, that an automatic robs that much. It's going to do it whether it's park, neutral, reverse, or in gear. In gear is probably worse, but because now you're spinning the rear and everything, like really spinning it. But my point is that an engine dyno doesn't have the load that a chassis dyno has, and those numbers, you could see it. If you just look at some articles, you can see the difference. You can see the drivetrain loss compared to whatever it makes on an engine dyno, and then the time slip. But the time slip tells all. It's cool to make power on a dyno. I'm not saying it's not, but to say a statement, to show your work, and that it's irrelevant, showing it on a time slip, the dyno's what matters, tells me one of a few things. One, you either have an underperforming vehicle. Two, you don't have a vehicle that you race and you just play with dynos. Three, you really never thought that in depth about the statement you made. Four, you just completely don't understand how this works. Truthfully. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. I'm sure I will. Especially if these guys catch wind of this video, they'll probably tear me to pieces. Or try to. But I have proof of what I've done. And to be honest, the stuff they've done, it's not too impressive. It's cool to watch, I guess. But to be honest with you, I don't even waste my time anymore. After some of the statements made, that being one of them, and the one gentleman that made the statement as well, he said, he used to tell his competition the wrong information intentionally. To me, that's poor sportsmanship. If you can't beat people at their best, then it tells a lot about your character. And it tells a lot about how much you actually know if you can't beat someone at their best. Unless you're out there with something just way less than what they got, which is about the only... It's not even an exception, really. It's more of an excuse just so they look a little bit... That way they're up here, not down here, I guess. But I lose respect for people like that. And it makes me not even want to tune in or even give them the time. I don't even want to hear their name. I've had guys hit me up. Hey man, check out this video he just posted. Check out this, check out that. And I don't want to. I have no desire to even want to contain his information. I used to watch the guy, and to be honest, it all went out after hearing that statement. My jaw hit the floor and it just all left. All of it. Everything that I might have learned or picked up off of him, out the door. I was going to buy his books. Don't need his books. I lost full respect for that man. And that's one reason why I have a lot of respect for some of the other guys out there. There's a couple guys that I do watch. One guy is the one guy I will take his information because he is right there and he is just the kindest man. That's Ben Almeida. He is probably, and he's top tier. That guy knows his stuff. I'm not saying there's not other guys like that, but Ben is just one. He's one of the few I found that it's just like he knows what he's talking about. He can back it up. He's got cars. He's showed it. He's done it. And he doesn't talk about one 11-second vehicle. He talks about cars that went, whether it went 11s, 10s, 9s, 8s, whatever. He shows the car that they mess with, all of it. He's got proof. Proof is in the pudding, as they say. He has proof of what he's done. He's kind. He doesn't think he's above anybody. And that's what it should be about. That's how it should be. That's the sportsmanship you should want in our sport. Not, hey, such and such, what do you think I should do? And then just blatantly lie to make someone slower than you. That is just... shouldn't be. It should not be. At least be a man and say, I'm not telling you that. People might not like you for that, but they're really not going to like you when they find out you told them the wrong information to make them even slower. And honestly, it makes you look bad. I know if somebody did that to me, I would never ask them a question. It goes to show. I don't watch them anymore. I don't watch them because of that reason. He lost a subscriber and somebody potentially, that would have used his stuff, that would have maybe even tried some of his ways. Because I'm the type of guy, I will do that. If somebody says, hey, you want to try something? I might be down to do it. Hey, you want to try this cam? I designed this. Here's the numbers. I might do it. Especially if somebody says, hey, I have this. Do you want to put it in your car and try it? I might do it. Let me do what I got to do first with what I got, and then I'll put your stuff in it. So that way I know what I have going on, know where I'm at, and then I'll try your part or whatever, and then see if it works. What am I out some time messing with it? And cam changes don't take long, or whatever the case may be. I've done it. I blew stuff up over it. Trying people's tunes and stuff. I've done it. Oh, you need to pull timing out of your car. Go out there and it lifts ahead. Oh, it wasn't my tune. It wasn't my tune. Well, that's the only thing I did was pull timing. I listened to you. Pull timing and the car blew up. I don't know what to tell you. Well, I shouldn't be. That's not how it works. In your mind, it don't. All right. It must have been on its way out already. Well, the car's been sprayed for the last 4 weeks, so I don't think so. I think it would have did it 3 weeks ago. This video's kind of got off course a little bit. I'm not trying to run people into the ground, but people need to know the correct information. And that might sound, maybe I'm overstepping, maybe I'm in the wrong here, but a lot of guys just think, I see it too many times, not just these guys either, there's other people, how do I make X power? You got a million guys that want to make power with something, and that's not the ticket. It's not. Yeah, sure, it's part of the equation, but it's not your end result. You can make all the power in the world. If you can't put it to the ground, it don't matter. If you can't drive, it don't matter. So, hopefully you guys learned something off of this video. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. Might lose some guys who watch this, and they might gather who I'm speaking about. But guys, when you see something and you don't see results, or you don't see the proof, I mean, there comes a time where it's like, all right, what's going on here? If you don't see the stuff getting, I mean, some people sell stuff, like they'll have you do something and then they sell it, that's whatever, but with some of these, I mean, these big channels, I mean, they got shops, they have the place to do it. When you got the money and the backing like that, and there's nothing getting done, I guess I'll leave it at that. Because I've been supposed to see this 500 horsepower 302 with E7s on it for like a year, and I want to see it, but I haven't been able to. So that's also why I'm making the moves over here, that to show you guys something with the 302. Because we were chasing demons in my dad's car. It's not my dad's fault, but we were just, I mean, I was out there with him, and there's stuff going on with that car that's like, just, you can't explain it. And I'm like, forget this. And then I had stuff at home where I couldn't get stuff done. Different projects and things, and now it's time. Now it's time. So we're going to try to get this car done. I'll do my best to show you guys something this year. And proof's in the pudding, as my grandmother used to say. So this video ran longer than I wanted it to. Hopefully you guys learned something, and hopefully you guys don't get too upset with me. And just know that the dyno isn't always right, isn't always consistent, and that's not what you want to base your car off of. ET is everything. That's what we're here for, to go fast and get the ET. ET is what we want. That being said, you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you around.